It's Sythern here. I'm just starting to do some video guides about DKs, so I'm just going to teach you what I use in RBGs. I'm currently 2.2 in RBGs. There's different glyphs and talents that I take depending on what situation. I'm going to teach you about some macros I use. There's some handy ones for you, so we'll take a look at glyphs right now. The usual glyph I run with is Dark Simulacrum, glyph of Icy Touch, glyph of Pestilence. The talent I take is Roiling Blood, because it works with Pestilence too. As Unholy, it's really good. Referring to Unholy spec right now, it's really strong in RBGs after the buff. You get death runes from Icy Touch, if you Plague Strike you put both diseases on now, as you surely well know. So right now I'm just going to show you some macros I've got. Some macros I've got is Icy Touch. I've got it as set to target and focus target. So if I use, for instance, now I'll show you. If I set this dummy as a target and set this as a focus, so if I press C now, it Icy Touches my main target. If I press Alt and C, it'll Icy Touch my focus target. And this is good for dispels with the glyph. The glyph of Icy Touch. So I'll just show you what the macro was right now. There's the macro. I've also got some other burst macros. We've got what I call Super DK. It uses Trinket, cast Blood Fury if you're an Orc of course, cast Unholy Frenzy, and summon Gargoyle. We used to not put Unholy Frenzy in that because it used to break CCs on Unholy Frenzy by damaging that person, but right now it doesn't do it. They removed it, so I've added it to my burst macro. Also, I'm just going to tell you something now what some DKs forget to do, is I use Outbreak myself when bursting. So I'll open up with a Plague Strike, then I'll Blood Boil, but for this purpose I'm not going to Blood Boil. Obviously, and then the people pop cooldowns when they've got the dots on them without reapplying them. So I put the normal dots on, and as you can see the dot damage is not going up from when I first put it on. It's still the same, 7.8k and 12k. So I reapply it with my burst on, and it goes up. As you can see, it's going up. It's gone up to 10.5 and 15k. So make sure you reapply your diseases, preferably when you pop CDs. Make sure to reapply Outbreak, put Outbreak on them once you pop your CDs. Use Blood Boil to spread the new diseases, and thus you're going to get all your damage up with your CDs. Even if you see a sword enchant proc from Rune of Fallen Crusader, you want to reapply a fresh dot up and spread it, because it'll be getting an extra damage buff on everyone. So that's one of the tips I've told you. Make sure you reapply your diseases once you pop cooldowns and start spreading them meds. As for talents, Lichborne is pretty much superior right now in RBGs. I'd only use Anti-Magic Zone really for myself in Arena. I've seen some Unholy DKs use it in RBGs, but for myself I don't find it really viable. I'd rather have something to stick on healers when, for instance, if I'm on a priest or there's a couple of warlocks, I just like Lichborne. It helps me, especially now that I've changed from undead to orc. Asphyxiate is what I use for arenas. I use that for 3v3. For RBGs I'm always using Chillblains. I'd recommend Chillblains as it's a good gap closer. It's also good for peels, which I'll show you right now. I have a chains macro for my target and a focus chains macro. So what I do is change my target, and I can chain my focus target. And this also works good synergy with a death grip on your target and a focus death grip on 2 melee. So if you're in an RBG and your healer's getting trained by 2 melee, what you can do is you can death grip the primary target like this. Oh, target is tapped. It's a bit buggy, but you can death grip your main target, and then you can death grip your off target, instantly root the other one. So you've got both DPS chained down for 3 seconds. It's a really good peel. So you need to make a focus change macro. There it is. And for the death grip, I've currently not got it on one keybind. I don't really have a lot of room for it, so what I do is I've put my death grip as Shift and R and set my focus death grip to Shift and T, which is next to R, so it's still quite easy for me to do. And then I'll chain of ice on both once I've gripped them down, and then that's a good peel for the healer. And really, a lot of the time you want to be in blood presence. Obviously, if they're not on you, you want to go on holy presence. But if you've got a melee on, I'd still recommend going blood presence. You don't lose a lot of DPS as unholy. But if no one's on you, yeah, run around in unholy. But as soon as you get a couple on you, you might want to switch to blood presence because it does stop quite a bit of damage. So yeah, the glyphs really for RBGs is probably going to be Pestilence, Icy Touch and Dark Siculum. I have been looking at Death and Decay. It's not the best, but it's good for maps like Silver Shard Vines. I think it's really good. Also, if you put that on top of the Solar Beam, I find it good because Druids can't really travel form out of that because it's an AoE effect, so they can't really travel form out of that. Some other glyphs. Strangulate doesn't work with a Fixate. I have tested it. So if you've got a Fixate and you go in arena, you don't really want to be using Strangulate, Glyph of Strangulate, because it's not going to add the 2 seconds on. I did try it out. It'd be really overpowered actually if it worked, but it doesn't. Unholy Frenzy is really for duels. I don't find a use for this in RPGs. Glyph of Anti-Magic Shell. It's good, but you're stopping 75% anyway. And if you've got Warlock Mage on you, it might even break instantly if you've got 100% absorption, because the just raw damage could shatter the shell. I've seen it happen a few times, so I tend not to pick that. And Dark Secure, obviously, it's not really any good. It's just a leveling glyph really. Death Coil, no, they need to buff it. Obviously, I think it gets cut down by 30% as well with the battle fatigue, so it's not really viable. As for talents, I use Desecrated Ground for arenas. It's an extra trinket. It's really good. It breaks you out a Cyclone as well, which is fantastic. Gorfine's Grasp is, I always use this for Rate of Battlegrounds. It's so good. If you've got a Druid, you can Typhoon them off. Never, a lot of DKs I see, a lot of low rated DKs using it on targets, so all the targets fly towards that target. Never use that on a target. You want to use it on yourself, so always cast Gorfine's Grasp on yourself. There's a macro for it. I just use Alt and T because I don't have an Alt and T keybind, so it just automatically casts it on myself. Always use that. Make sure you give a nice shout to the person you want to use with it. For instance, a mage can Ring of Frost on top of that, or they could get a Typhoon, push them all off LM, push them all off Eye of the Storm, or they could even blow them off the edge of Twin Peaks. It's really good with a Solar Beam, so if you get a Moonkin on your RPGs and you've got a DK, it works really well. Gorfine's Grasp, Ursa's Vortex, Solar Beam, and you're locking them out for a good, what, 8 seconds. Conversion and Death Pact, I see a lot of people arguing which one's better here. I do think I've tried them both. As I say, it's different, and it depends what situation you're in. Like if, for instance, if it's an AB and you're defending, which you could stay conversion because it's probably going to be 2 versus 2 fights or 3 versus 3 fights, and obviously conversion will be better because there won't be as much burst like in flag games where you're all grouped up as 7 or 8 people. Obviously Death Pact's going to become superior for the burst heal, but like if you're defending a flag and there's 2 versus 2, the hot's going to be better from conversion. So what I'd suggest is just giving them both really a try, see what fits you best. for me, for flag games, I'd pick Death Pact. For AB, conversion could be better, but personally for me, I just prefer the burst healing. But for arenas, for 2v2, conversion wins hands down, no matter what. Well, unless it's a really good double DPS comp, you still might want to go Death Pact, but I think conversion's brilliant for 2v2, especially now that 2v2 is more viable, seeing as it doesn't go on what rating you get, it goes on what how many points you cap. So 2v2 is now viable again. 3 versus 3 conversion still could be good. As I say, it depends what kind of setup you're going against. It depends what kind of burst you're going against. If it's a good burst team, you might want to stay with Death Pact still. As for Frost, talent's changed a little bit. Unholy Blight is really good. Remember DK's Unholy Blight. It goes through Cloak of Shadow, so if you see a rogue going about, use Unholy Blight. It'll penetrate his Cloak of Shadows. And for Unholy, if you see a rogue with Cloak of Shadows, you can Plague Strike that. The dots will go through the cloak with Plague Strike, and also Asphyxiate will get through the cloak as well. Remember DKs also, Soul Reaper is your friend. Make sure to get the enemy down to about 35%. Stack Necros, and then once you've stacked Necros, get your Soul Reaper on. Get your Soul Reaper on, then stack Necros, and then try and keep it blanket at 35%. Blanket him just under 35%. You want to keep him below that. If it procs, it could die, especially since you're going to be reforging into Mastery. Mastery is probably the best reforge for DKs, both specs. Some prefer haste, but myself, I prefer Mastery. It increases my shadow damage a lot. Currently I've got 41% increased shadow damage, so when I'm blood boiling everyone, it's increasing the dot damage, which is really good. As for Frost as well, when I'm doing my grip, I still use grip as Frost, Gorfin's Grass Fairy. You want to use Unholy Blight before you do your Gorfin's Grasp, because as soon as you pull them all in, everyone's going to get slowed and dotted, meaning more damage for you. So synergize them two together, Unholy Blight and Gorfin's Grasp. But always make sure you've got someone else to follow up on the Gorfin's Grasp, obviously. Positioning as a DK is really important. You need to keep in check that you're not overextending in RBGs. It's so important. As a DK, you're pretty much a glass cannon. Keep a note where your healers are. DKs are the usual target callers, so if you target calling, you want to keep a check where DPS are. Are they overextending? You always want to keep your eye out for that. As for certain burst, I'm going to show you now how much a Necro does without cooldowns. How much it absorbs, sorry. Oh yeah, that reminds me, I'm going to tell you some add-ons in a minute. Right, as you can see, one Necro without cooldowns on the target dummy is absorbing 33k. That's without cooldowns. That add-on, what it tells me right there, is called Necrotic Track. So you can download that on Wildcards. Necrotic Track. It just basically tracks how much absorption you're going to do. So I'll show you how much I can do now. When you're going for the burst as well, you really want to get 12 blood taps. There's a macro for Necrotic Strike, what I've got, so you don't have to keep pressing blood tap. It just works automatically with Necro. I'll show you that macro after. Right now I've got 12 blood taps, so I'm going to pop my CDs. One Necro is absorbing 45k, so it's about a 50% increase almost. You can stack it up quite high, as you can see. The main thing is that also you want to be working it with when you're doing your burst macro, which I just showed you. Make sure you do it while you've got your sword enchant on. So when Rune of the Fallen Crusader procs, it's going to give you 15% extra strength. So you've got that up, and then I want you to cast it all once that sword enchants up. Cast it all together. and then you're going to get the maximum burst from Gargoyle, you're going to get maximum burst from AoE pressure. Always spread your diseases when you're popping your burst. Remember to, once you've put your burst, always remember to reapply your diseases, then spread. Never pop burst, then blood boil from your previous diseases. You're always going to want to you're always going to want to pop cooldowns, reapply your diseases when cooldowns are up, then blood boil. You're going to do so much damage. Your damage will go off the charts. Save AMS for bad situations also. In RBGs, when you're being focused, they look out for the cooldowns of AMS. They'll see that you've used AMS, and once that AMS is gone, they'll switch to you straight away. So please only use it to, for instance, if you're on a target and he's almost dead, like you could use AMS to run through Ring of Frost to get him or something. You should only really use it if you're being focused or you could get a kill. You know you could get a kill. Also for the necrotic strike and blood tap, I'm going to show you the macro right now. There you go. There you go. That's the macro to use it. Just type that into your macros, and then you never have to worry about pressing blood tap again. Because that's the only really thing you want to use with it. Sometimes I'll use it for I'll use a blood tap on a blood boil if there's a lot grouped up, but mainly you always want to use it for that. If you press it once, it'll activate the death rune. If you press it twice, it'll do the necrotic. So make sure you give a bit of spam on that necrotic. But if you wanted to use it for a blood boil, your death rune, just go ahead, press E, press your necrotic strike macro once, it'll death rune, then press blood boil. Also, very important for DKs is you want a Gnaw macro for your pet stun. Because when you're focusing one target, you want to be able to CC that healer. So for instance, right now I'll show you. So this is the target I'm on. I want to stun the other target. You hold a modifier, you send your target there, the healer's now stunned. I could strangulate him out of that. There you go, it's chaining CCs together on targets with focus. That's what you've got to do. The macro for Gnaw is there. Just copy that macro down. That's what I use. If you press your keybind normally on whatever mod you're using, it'll go to your focus. Like I use Alt, so it's T to stun my primary target and Alt to stun my focus target. Some add-ons, what you want to be using is the add-ons I've got is battleground targets is a must for RPGs. I use lose control to show the duration of CCs on the portraits. So it'll show me if someone's feared, it'll show me the seconds around the portrait. I use mixed scrolling combat text for the damage, which is coming up right there. I use necrotic track. It's really good, it shows you the absorptions. I use Omni CC to show me the time of their cooldowns. It shows me how many seconds till I can use it. And I use plate buffs for CC, which will show you above, like right there, plate buffs. You can get that off WoW interface. Extract it to your interface folder. Yep, it also shows you the diseases as well, plate buffs. As you can see, it shows you who's got diseases. Also, you want Gladius for arenas, but I haven't got it on right now, so I haven't really been doing arenas much. And you want you might be better off using Gladiator Ursa. It shouts out when they've used the cooldowns. I don't really like it, but it's situational. For arena you probably want it, but I just don't like it really. But yeah, that's it for the add-ons. And I think that's enough tips for today really. I mean, I'll try and get out a video of me and RBGs showing them positional wise where to be and stuff. A few tips and tricks for getting people line of sight in Temple of Court Magoo. Also guys, as a DK you really want to be Frost always in Temple of Court Magoo, never go on Hallway because it's all about the burst. As for Frost as well, I'll show you a quick cooldown, what I use for my cooldown. If I can find it. Yeah, badge. There you go. It's cast Pillar of Frost and my trinket, so it's really good. It's a 1 minute cooldown, obviously. Trinket minute cooldown, Pillar of Frost minute cooldown. You're going to want to use them because it'll be a 20-second uptime on a minute cooldown, which is a 33% uptime on your cooldown. So you're 33% of the time, if you're doing it off, if you're casting your burst all the time, you're getting a 33% uptime on cooldowns. Obviously add Blood Fury to that as Frost if you're an Orc. So yeah, that's Frost Burst. Also, don't forget, Pillar of Frost makes you can't be pushed off or stuff with Pillar of Frost. So when I'm going for a AoE grip on LM, just to be sure, if there's a boomkin there or something that can push me off, what I'll do is I'll pop my Pillar of Frost so they can't push me off and get close to the edge to do my grip to push them off. So always use your Pillar of Frost on LM at the edge. You don't want to be pushed off yourself, it's just not good. So yeah, I think that's about enough for today. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. It's my first guide, so I don't expect it to be fantastic, but I just thought I'd help you guys and show you how a few macros, a few glyphs, and tell you a few things how to play. If you've got any questions, obviously, yeah, just leave it. Just let me know what you want to know.